All right, two things in the gaming news world I wanted to talk about this week. The first is the new trailer for Death Stranding 2. This dropped on Sunday at South by Southwest, but there's definitely a lot to unpack with this. Shout out to some of you guys on social media that wanted me to react to this. I happily will, because I love what Hideo Kojima and his teams have put out. Essentially from Metal Gear Solid. I've been along for the ride for a while, and Death Stranding 2, this trailer, man, it's crazy. So it looks to me like, at least on the surface, it's addressing a lot of things, some issues that I personally kind of actually had with the first Death Stranding game. Maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too much, or it's just kind of like I'm biased because I want certain things from this game, but it looks like there's more story, more gameplay. That's kind of what I wanted. I didn't necessarily want more combat, but this trailer definitely highlights more combat and action sequences, chases, shootouts, stuff like that. I actually really like the original Death Stranding for its gameplay creativity. The fact that it wasn't just all out, balls out combat, action, racing, or anything like that. It was literally a walking simulator in the most creative and interesting ways, a way that actually like had compelling gameplay loops and aspects to it, right? So now it seems like they're taking that concept and expanding it. So I'm curious to see what's really going to stick around. The actual strand type elements, you know, like the connected co-op world, that type of thing. Are piss grenades still going to be in it? I'm really curious to see how that stuff rolls out. We get flashes of gameplay, yes. It seems like delivery and transporting is still a significant part of the game, but I'm curious to see how they balance that with some of the newer stuff they showed off. Along with that, it also just looks very much like it's a lot of the same stuff from the original game, but just crazier. And I'm okay with that. Like what I just talked about with the gameplay concepts being a little bit more amped up, but also the stories and the characters. It just looks like there is a lot more going on. You have characters returning and there's more going on there too. You have Fragile, and she's like clearly in it a lot more, and seems like she has more of an active role this time compared to her more passive stuff. You have Troy Baker as Higgs in it again, but this time it's like crazy cuckoo bananas Troy Baker, and I'm actually all for that. That's some real Hideo Kojima shit if I've ever seen it. But I'll be totally honest, what I'm most excited to see, I really enjoyed Death Stranding to the point where like it inspired me to literally go to Iceland. I will always thank like the vistas, the imagery of that game for that specifically. But I'm just hoping that this time around, they really hone the story stuff. Death Stranding, I think, had a lot of really interesting, incredible story concepts, but it just felt kind of all over the place with how it wanted to tell that stuff. Now, I know people will always be defensive of this, and I understand. I love a complicated, deep, confusing, like, you didn't get it, man, type of story as much as the next person, but I just found it pretty hard to follow sometimes in Death Stranding. I was into it, and I think that there is a lot to it, but I think a second game could really just take the concepts and run with it, because my favorite thing about Death Stranding wasn't the moment-to-moment story and, you know, all of Sam's mission, but really the world that was built, the ideas going on here, the BBs, the BTs, everything like set up, like the lore is really what had me going in Death Stranding. And I felt like a lot of the actual story and some of the more interesting stuff was relegated to either a dump of cutscenes towards the end of the game, or a lot of stuff hidden in like dialogue or like talking to hologram people and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that this time around it's more story in your face more of the time. I like Hideo Kojima games. Yeah, the gameplay is great and there's always some innovative stuff, but I'm along for like the adventure and the story of the ride, really. Oh, and we also got the news that the game is coming. Well, it's also not called Death Stranding 2. It's called Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, and it's releasing June 26th, 2025. The only other thing I really wanted to get out here with this trailer, other than like breakdown reactions, is it's just a nice experience. I know this is going to sound really fanboy. Okay, like just buckle up here. The Hideo Kojima trailer thing has always kind of been a video game event for me personally, back from like the original like lengthy Tokyo Game Show trailer for the original Metal Gear Solid, and how that was also, I believe, packed into VR missions. Like it was just something you would access in your lo-fi ways and watch over and over again. I really did. And ever since then, there's always been this establishment of like the Hideo Kojima trailers as an event. This isn't new that this trailer was 10 minutes long. There's always, the original Death Stranding had a bunch of trailers like this, and I always just love it because they're just really like excitingly packaged things. Obviously, he edits a lot of them. He chooses the music, and there's so many other people behind the creation of this game. Yes, but I just like his way of presenting things. It's always exciting when like a new Hideo Kojima trailer drops, and I look and it's like 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long. I sit back and just like make sure I watch it on my TV and savor it because it's always just good, well-constructed shit. He understands how to generate hype, how to show cool things. And I think this trailer is a really good example of that because it got everybody talking with all the Metal Gear Solid shit. There is just like a thrill to the trailers, and I think it was exemplified here with the appearance of a guy that looks like Solid Snake. The character in the game is known as Neil, and it's played by real-world actor Luca Marinelli, who is from Italy, and it was very cool imagery. It's also very cute. I want to say that about like, because you know, a lot of people are like, oh my God, is he kind of like working through a loophole? Is he getting Solid Snake in the game? Okay, technically you can argue like, you know, there is a snake in this world and his soul is trapped in the beach and it's like through a different vessel, whatever. I don't think that's the case. I literally just think it's Hideo Kojima being Hideo Kojima. Like I said, I've been around for a while and he's always pulled shit like this. We actually talked about it one time. No, we didn't actually talk about it, but I just want to point out that like he likes to play games. He likes to do weird tongue-in-cheek things. That's part of the appeal. That's what's made his games so interesting and why I've been talking about them for a significant chunk of my life, my career. There's also the Metal Gear similarities things with the vehicle that we've seen in other trailers that looks like the head of Metal Gear Rex. And now it's like in this trailer, it's very cool. The Metal Gear head is the Magellan is the ship being put on the head of a monster, looking like there's going to be some kaiju battle stuff. That could be extremely cool and creative. But again, the Metal Gear imagery and really this appearance of a snake-like character is like a meta thing more than anything else. I think, you know, look, as much as it would be cool, we're like, oh, Snake's back, kind of like it's kind of like they're doing like you know, how the Alan Wake handled kind of like a Max Payne, but doing that type of thing here, that's cool, okay? But like, I'm not reading into it too much because I know Hideo Kojima probably wants to do a bunch of other weird shit. And also, he's done this Metal Gear type stuff before. He's played around with this. The previous Death Stranding game had stuff like this. They also added in like I believe it was for the director's cut, they did a trailer that was like teased and almost was like a fake Metal Gear Solid trailer with stealth and stuff like that. He's not like, you know, they're not like averse to doing stuff like this. Next up, quick question. Have you ever thought about how smells can kind of transport you back to a moment in time or activate a certain memory? You know, like the fresh smell of a new game box opening it up or a new console, maybe even a scent that reminds you of pulling an all-nighter grinding through a game. Well, scent is a huge part of how we experience the world, and for me, picking the right fragrance is just as important as picking the right game. I've been experimenting with different colognes lately, and thankfully I've found a way to do that without dropping hundreds of dollars on full-size bottles, and that's where our sponsor Scentbird comes in. I've been using Scentbird, and this month I picked out a few fragrances that I thought would maybe fit my vibe. First up was Yellowstone. It's fresh, invigorating, outdoorsy. It's got that cedarwood smell, and of course all of them come in this really nice portable capsule. It's nice and portable, but the glass vial here, see, it gives you plenty of cologne. Good stuff. That's a good manly smell, but if you're looking for something a little bit more fun, I've been also using this one. This is Navitus Parfums Baklava Royale. Orange blossom, honey, vanilla. It's just got a really good, kind of fun, tasty smell to it, believe it or not. If you're like me and you like switching things up, Scentbird is a game changer. Instead of buying a full-size bottle and hoping you'll like it, you get to try out luxury and niche fragrances every month for just $8 your first month using my code ONJAKE. That's way cheaper than a lot of store samples. They've got over 700 options, so whether you're looking to dive into something musky, woody, or fresh, there's always something to check out. Plus, like I said, if you ever want to change it up, the vials are super portable. You can just throw it in your backpack and you're good to go. So if you want to give Scentbird a try, you can use my code ONJAKE or click the link in the description down below to get 55% off your first month. That means your first fragrance is $8. Again, way cheaper than buying a full-size bottle of a fragrance you might not even end up liking. There's a QR code on screen here. Remember, it's ONJAKE, and let us know in the comments what's your favorite smell. It might help somebody out. Give them a tip. But Thanks to Scentbird for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. All that aside, I think just separately, now as a character, this character, Neil, I think the actor is incredibly striking, but also, again, Metal Gear Solid stuff aside, what an incredible bit of imagery here. The shot with him, with the undead soldiers, the fireworks in the background. Honestly, one of the coolest shots I've seen in a thing in quite some time. And I'm talking like movies, video games, what have you. That shit's just awesome. As much as Hideo Kojima and company like to do creative, weird things and not always just focus on combat and explosions, right? At the end of the day, Hideo Kojima, I think, is still really good at just making a cool guy with a cool gun. And I think that, you know, like that goes back to the original Death Stranding with Mads Mikkelsen as Cliff Unger, right? Cliff Unger was an incredibly iconic looking character. Yes, of course, Mikkelsen, the actor, is one thing. He's something else, man. But it's really the way he was portrayed, you know, the ink under the eyes, all that stuff, his style, the cool factor here is really established. And it's kind of like a repeat here with this character, Neil. I'm curious to see how this goes with the story, but it seems like he's in a similar position as to how Cliff was. My only thing is I really liked Cliff in the original game, and I actually liked the kind of flashback sequences the most to learn a little bit more about how this world got to how it is, right? But I still found like he and like how cool and badass he was and all that shit was really, really criminally underutilized. So I'm hoping that maybe now this time around they can right that wrong. For me personally, as a player preference wise. But again, like Hideo Kojima knows what he's doing with like the silly Metal Gear stuff, right? He knows how to get people going, get people talking, and, you know, be tongue in cheek and cute about it in a way that I think not a lot of people are used to these like mainstream creatives being. You don't see like a Christopher Nolan or anybody doing shit like this. But great trailer, Death Stranding 2, very excited for it. I've talked about it for a long time. Ultimately, I just hope that there's more story, more cool stuff compared to the first game. I want to give a little bit more of a shit about Sam personally. I want to really feel the stakes even more of this adventure, even though like the end of the world was kind of in the last game. But like, I don't know. I'm just excited for more. I'm excited for like a second pass at the world of Death Stranding, really. Oh, also, they announced that they're doing a world tour of like Death Stranding music with like a real orchestra and stuff. That's cool as hell. I want to buy tickets for that right now. Let's see. Okay, Shanghai, London, Los Angeles, Sydney, New York, Newark, and J-Pack. Okay, that's fine, but like, you guys skip New York? Come on. I mean, I know Newark's like right there, but come on. Just saying though, Metal Gear Solid, that music in concert was the peak of my life. But anyway, I'm gonna buy tickets to that. Long story short, I'm looking forward to June to see what's up with this game. The other thing I wanted to talk about this week briefly is EA's Skate. The newest Skate game has been a work in progress for a very long time now at this point. It's been like, it seems like EA has kind of established a smaller team, put them over there and let them prototype and do their thing. There's been a very long, very community-focused thing with this game. We've seen a lot of prototype stuff, a lot of wireframe stuff back in the day, and they've been building this thing seemingly from the ground up for quite some time. But the news, the thing that got people talking about Skate, this new Skate now, is the news that apparently, with people who have played the alpha, like new playtest version of the game, is that there is microtransactions in the game. And a lot of people are extremely unhappy with that. I think it sucks, but I also completely saw it coming. Insider Gaming is reporting this in-game currency allows players to buy various cosmetic items. According to Full Circle, this is being added to make sure players have a positive experience when purchasing items from the Skate store. Okay, whatever, man. I think ultimately, if you weren't paying attention, like, yes, you'll see this headline and get mad, but like, if you've been paying attention to this development, it doesn't come as a big surprise. And I'm not saying that as like I'm defending it. I wish microtransactions were not in the game. But the way they've been building this for so long, I knew something had to give. With EA giving them so much time to like hone this thing, this new Skate game, how does a new Skate game exist in 2025, 2026? And the reality is, and I fucking don't like it, is that it's more than likely more of like a live servicey thing. Even if they won't come out and say it, like, that's how they're going to want to extract money from this game. I just feel like in this day and age, like these big corporations like EA, right? And I'm getting a little cynical now, so bear with me, but like, I feel like they have no interest in just like developing a skateboarding game, putting it out, making money from a $50, $60 game, and moving on and making a sequel. The reality with Skate coming back, I knew it was going to be some shit like this. Now, devil's advocate, if it's just skins and stuff like that, fine. Like if just skins supports what can kind of be an endlessly playable skateboarding game, I'm a little more interested in that, because I do think this type of game, this gameplay style, does actually lend itself to something that is continuously, endlessly updated. New places to skate, new tricks, new things to do, you know? So I'm just hoping like they don't fuck it up even more. If it's just cosmetics, whatever. And I know some people say like even that's not good enough. Fair enough. But the reality is like we pretty much knew it was going to be free to play, and I assumed this would happen. I just think the magic really is going to be in how hard they push it, and you know, whether or not it just sucks ass and it gets worse and worse. So we'll have to wait and see. But I did want to talk about that because I do like skateboarding games. I do like talking about them. If you're riled up about this, of course, you can always go check out an old skate game if you haven't ever before. I highly recommend it, but also consider checking out Session. Session has been a little bit more updated and more... When I first tried it, I wasn't into it, but Session is definitely an interesting alternative. If you have Steam or something like that, go check that out. That's just like an endorsement from me. But that's it for me for now. I yapped a lot this episode. So yeah, if you're new here, just know that every Wednesday I talk about 2 news stories I find personally interesting. Friday on Game Ranks, I wrap up all the news, yeah, but over here, I just jump in on Wednesdays to chat about stuff I find personally interesting. But I got other videos coming down the pipeline, some reviews for some upcoming games, so keep your eyes peeled. But let me know what you think in the comments. Why did I hit that but so hard? But let me know what you think about Death Stranding 2. You know, are you one of the people that just think all of this is overhyped bullshit? Fair enough. Are you someone who's pretty excited like me? Curious, cautiously optimistic? Let's talk about this stuff. Let's talk about the fake Solid Snake or Big Boss. We don't know who he is, but let me know what you think about that. And of course, let me know what you think about Skate and the microtransaction stuff. Of course, you can find me on the social medias. Just look up my name at Jake Baldino. I'm on Game Ranks. I'm also on the Friends Per Second podcast every other week. I'm busy. So thank you for watching. All I ask of you is to have a great day. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me. See ya.